Yo, 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 yo. What's up, everybody? Paul Hickey here with NoOffSeason.com. Welcome to Sports Card Strategy Show, episode 55. I've got my main man, Kendall, Lefty, McKee, ready to do it, ready to talk sports cards. Kendall, how you doing today?
I'm good, dude. It's starting to get cold, and I get grouchy when it's cold, my man.
Oh, me too. It's a sign of getting old, unfortunately. I mean, you're about 11 years younger than me, so you're not quite old yet, but I feel old when I get grouchy, and cold makes me grouchy too.
Yeah. My wife and I had this like discussion / fight this weekend that we don't really want the same retirement home. Like the same retirement, like
retirement
home
situation
type thing.
Okay.
Yes.
Yeah. Like when you downsize at some point or whatever.
She's like, yeah, we'll just like move to the mountains to a small little mountain town and where it's nice and cozy and cute. And I just looked at her, I was like, no, we are not doing that. We're moving to Florida where it's always awesome,
warm, and you can get on a golf cart and drive wherever you want.
Yeah.
On your golf cart. All right. Well, I got a quick question for you, Kendall. Why vault your cards with the original marketplace? Because the eBay vault isn't just a way to protect what you collect. It's a new way to trade. Not only have your cards never been safer thanks to our secure, climate-controlled facility, but you're also locking in real savings. You pay no sales tax when you ship to or transact within the vault, and there are no storage fees for 2 years. Now, just imagine everything you can do with all that money. And with the eBay Vault's seamless in-app experience, you can track, buy, and sell your cards in real time. From listing your cards in seconds with eBay Collection to tracking trends with eBay Price Guide, managing your collection is more seamless than ever before. The eBay Vault. Buy, sell, secure. And you know what's pretty funny is I have no idea what you're doing while I'm reading that because I'm literally reading it and not looking at you. So you could be doing anything.
I'm just
totally making
most
fun
of the
me.
time I'm just laughing at you. Like because you're like, yeah, that's great. You want to know what? Why would you? But then at the same time, like you're just born to read these ads, bro. You're just so good at it.
Thanks, man. I think I practiced as a kid. You know, like how some people when they're a kid, like they like pretend to be a musician or they pretend, you know, I used to pretend to be a sports broadcaster. So I feel like that probably actually helped me in being able to do this. I appreciate you saying nice things about it. How's my mic sound? By the way, sometimes good.
Yeah.
Sometimes it's crackly, but we're good today. So
there have been times where it's been worse. And there's been times where your face is like right on the camera.
We've had some technical difficulties. I feel like I'm finally getting the hang of it. Like, while I may be good at reading the on-air script, I'm not the best producer of the show while I'm hosting the show, but I'm getting better at it. So
Lenny was messaging me the other day and he was rewatching that episode. And he's like, man, I can't explain, or I don't know how you contain yourself. And I was like, dude, I laughed for a while. And he goes, yeah, but like the rest of the episode, you just kept going. And he's like, and y'all had a guest on. It was freaking cracking him up, you know, like.
You know what's weird? Like, first of all, I love our audience. So shout out to Lenny. Shout out to the rest of the audience who is in on the joke and just like rolls with it. Because I think it's just as funny as you guys do. And like, I also don't care about stuff like that. Like, I think there's probably people where like that would have annoyed them the whole show, or like that would like they would have had to stop the show or something to fix the camera. I just don't care. Like, I'm not, if I get on a Zoom conference for like a meeting or something and something's like not working correctly, but the function of the meeting is still okay, like I'm just going to plow through it and be like, whatever, like, let's just finish this. So
yeah, the point is we can hear each other. So
yeah, the point is we can hear each other. It's a podcast. We're talking about sports cards, but nobody cares what I look like anyway. So but there's one more thing I wanted to say. Just go premium for a year.
Go premium for a year
at nooffseason.com. Email Paul at nooffseason.com. That's me to find out how. I want to give you free stuff. So email me at paul at nooffseason.com and I'm going to get you in free premium at nooffseason.com for a year. And we're going to continue to improve that product. one thing we're going to do to continue to improve that product is talk to you later on this week. Wednesday, I think. So just a couple of days, we're going to do a baseball card strategy show, something we haven't done in a while. And we're going to re-rank the baseball card rankings because they're a bit outdated at nooffseason.com right now. And I apologize for that. Somewhat intentional because I wanted to wait until the World Series was over. Yeah. But anyway, let's get into it, Kendall. So let's talk about your L of the week.
My small L of the week is Market Movers app is not working for me right now. No. I don't know if that is a across the board thing. I don't know if that is everybody's is not working. I'm assuming I would know, or you would know, because I'm sure you've looked at it this morning or something. Or
it's working for me right now.
I'm about to pull it up on the screen. I got nothing over here. So
that is enough for you.
And it's not the login information or anything like that. All I can do is it just keeps refreshing the page. And so I'm like, well, okay. But what my L of the week is that I don't have an article on Sports Card Investor in the top 3 articles like you do. Man, you're up there. Main page. Paul Hickey. Are you there?
You don't have an article by Paul Hickey yet?
No, what I'm saying is like I don't have a Sports Card Investor like front page article on there like you do.
Oh,
Soccer
like
Prospecting
I do.
101.
Well, you're certainly a good enough writer and certainly a smart enough person to have a article up there. And I appreciate the compliment. I'm very humbled and very thankful that I've been able to contribute to Sports Card Investor for a few reasons. And I mean, I do think sportscardinvestor.com is the leader in creating content for sports cards right now in the hobby. Like I do honestly believe that. As much as I want nooffseason.com to be, I mean, it's just me. I mean, we don't have, and you and Andy and other people to a certain extent, but I mean, really it's the written content on the site is basically just me. And so I can only do so much. Now with Sports Card Investor, they've got a whole team. They've got people that can look into all different things about sports cards, and it's more than just investing. It's details about specific sets. And so, it's also, I don't always love working as part of a team, but I do enjoy teaming up with people from, when it makes sense. And I do enjoy everybody there. So like every single person there that I've ever met, that I've ever talked to, super nice, super knowledgeable. I like working with them. And I'm also not the most knowledgeable person about anything other than really what I talk about on this show. Like I'm very confident in what I talk about on this show, but some of the articles I write for Sports Card Investor, I really have to research and I really have to check myself that I'm not totally wrong on some things because as you know, people in the hobby know a lot. They've been in the hobby for a long time. Not everybody, but most people that we know, they've been doing it longer than us. And so I'm very, very thankful that I'm able to contribute. I think part of it is because I was also built to crank out content. I love cranking out content. I have no fear in writing. I have no fear in doing videos, audio, stuff like this with you. And I think there's probably a lot more knowledgeable people in the hobby that could do a better job than me at writing for Sports Card Investor. They just don't do it and they won't do it. Yeah. And so, but I think you would be perfect for that if you do have time. And, but yeah, thanks for the compliment. Any other L of the week? You got a bigger L of the week than that, I'm sure.
Yeah, I got a couple L's of the week. My primary one is this one's personal. I hate that the Astros won the World Series. I hate that. Like
same here.
When I looked at the bracket like when the playoffs started, I was just like, okay, cool. All these teams could win. I really would appreciate it if not the Astros and maybe not the Yankees, like either one of those. I'm like, okay, anybody else I'm cool with, and so then by the time it's like boiling down and I was just like, it's going to happen, isn't it? It's going to happen. The only silver lining to it is Dusty Baker finally gets his World Series. I read a stat that said like his first at bat was against Jeremy Peña's dad, which is kind of weird. Or maybe his first coaching experience was against Jeremy Peña's dad. There was some sort of like father-son link there. But anyway, other than that, I think it's probably good for the hobby that the Astros won another championship, just to get kind of more of that cheater whatever mumbo gumbo off their back. Because like when you look at the stars in the Astros team, their cars just do not sell historically for what other players do, except for Jeremy Peña now, which is kind of wild, and I definitely have a little section about that in the future to talk about this. But my loss is that just from a fan perspective, the Houston Astros won the World Series, and I'm not excited about that. Another loss that I had this week was I got back one of my Jordan Lawler refractor autos that I pulled in my very first box of 2021 draft. He was the guy I was looking for. Like, he was the guy I was hunting, and I got a refractor auto in the first box, which was like, that just never happens. And so then I sent it off to PSA, and it came back a 9, unfortunately, which is still like probably a $300 to $400 card, but it's just unfortunate. It could have been a lot better for me. I'm probably going to have to upgrade that card now. Probably going to have to go in and like sell this one and then put some money from another card to getting a 10, just so I can have a gem for it. I really believe in him. And he'll for sure be pretty high in our rankings on Wednesday. But I was just bummed that it came back a 9. And then I won't speak too much about this because I know people get really salty about this. But I did my first slab crack this week. And
Nice.
I guess that's an L. Everything ended up being fine, but the fact that you had to do it, isn't that an L?
Yeah, I mean, I think it could qualify as an L for sure. Not because I don't think that people should do it. I think if you're going to crack a slab, you've thought long and hard about it, because it's not the easiest thing to do. It's a bit of a risk. I think in certain cases, it could definitely be an L. For example, like if you had a card graded and you're not happy about the grade and you want to have it regraded without any bias, I mean, that would be a loss of a reason to crack a slab, right? But I also think it could be part of a play. So like, I want to buy a Devin Booker BGS 9 and have it graded by PSA to see if it gets a 10. Like I'm going to do that. I'm going to do that with a couple. Not Devin Booker specifically, but with some other cards that I bought at card shows. So yeah, but I think like it's risky because I've only done it once, and I did it with a card that I wanted to see if the card really was altered, because PSA wouldn't grade it. And sure enough, it was altered. So I cracked it out of like a gem grading slab. And it wasn't that big of a risk, but I still didn't want to I didn't want to mess up the card. So that's what I'm worried about.
Yeah. Yeah, I was pretty nervous. But I just was like, I'm always going to be nervous until I do it once, and have some experience in it. So might as well.
So you did it, or you're going to do it?
No, I already did it. Yeah.
And you didn't mess up so did you crack it on the top with like pliers or something similar? And then did you take a screwdriver and sort of lever up the top from there? And you didn't, and you feel good about the card's condition afterwards?
Yeah, I did. That's the exact technique I used. Yeah. So
yeah, that's what I'm going to do when I'm ready to submit to PSA. And the reason I'm going to do it is because I like to send in the actual slab to have it officially cross graded. That's my preference. I've said that on the show, but I want everything to go into one value bulk submission. And so I want to get them out of the slab. And that's basically my reason for doing it.
Yeah, that's a good point. Yeah, I think the value submission like price right now is just so good. Like people are like, oh, can I get on that $15? Because we do the submission stuff. People are like, oh, can I send one in for $15? I'm like, yes, and I would love to do that for you, but you have to send me like 20. And they're like, oh, okay, well that's like $300. I'm like, yeah, okay, yeah, and there's a little small fee on top of that, like for my work that I do, as a professional. And so it's just like, Yeah, I mean, it is $15, but yeah, the reality is you're gonna probably have to spend $300 to $400, you know, and that is
Just acquire
also
your 20
assuming.
cards, and then it's not that big of a deal.
Yeah, but that's also assuming they're not gonna come back and say we need more. For like my Indy Rodriguez that I sent in, that I got a 10 back in, they said we need more for you to get this back. So that's the first time that had ever happened to me. But then I was just like,
Because of the
value of
requirement
the
of like
card.
$199 or less requirement, and then it's
Yeah.
insured for more or whatever.
Yeah.
Okay.
So I put the value at $7.99 when I shipped it in. And then when it became a 10, it was more. I mean, obviously it was, you know, pretty significantly more.
Yeah.
But anyway. So I just was like, you know what? I don't care if they're sending me this email saying I need to pay more. That means my card is exponentially worth more than what I thought it was.
Yeah.
So
how much more money, if you don't mind sharing with the audience?
yeah, sure. I'm sure.
Because this is a topic of discussion, and there's very rarely transparency around this.
Yeah, I think I got it in at like $60 to $70 originally per card. So it was like when I sent it in at the time, I think it was like 60 to 70, depending on the level I wanted it back. And then they asked me to send another additional 60 as well. So it ended up being like 120, 140, something there in there. To be honest, I don't really remember. I was just smashing that buy button. Basically, I was just like, yes, whatever.
Just
I don't care. Give me the PSA 10, you know, like,
yeah, that's good to know. I mean, that's
it wasn't like crazy more.
It's less than I thought, but it's refreshing to know that it's like not breaking the bank when that happens. And I didn't think it was, but I've heard people like not grade cards because they don't want to maybe have to pay that extra amount. And I'm thinking that's stupid, because first of all, you're only paying that extra amount if you're going to benefit exponentially from that grade. Mm-hmm. Secondly, it's not going to be that much more. Like, it's just to ensure that the card gets back to you safely.
I could see it if you are like on a shoestring budget and you maybe only have like, you know, maybe you don't have that many cards and you're not really into the sports card world that deep. And then you're like, 60 more bucks, you know, like, and it can be kind of like a slap in the face. But like what they're not realizing is that their card is going to be worth way more than $60 extra.
It's just so that it can get back to you safely. It's not because PSA is trying to gouge you or anything like that. Yeah, it's just the insurance of the shipping. So all right. Well, my L of the week is Malik Tillman cards that I already sold, and you can tell me what part of this is the major L. If it was me selling him at the time that I sold him, or if it was just him. But I bought this Malik Tillman gold refractor auto out of 50 from Merlin rookie for I think $150. Had it graded, it came back a 9, which was kind of an L. Nice looking card. But then I accepted an offer of like $50 for it. Just because I had tried to auction it off several times and could not meet the minimum bid, my minimum bid of $99. And maybe I should have, you know, we've talked about the bidding strategy, the selling at starting it at 99 cents. Maybe I should have done that. This just was an overall L. Like, I think I probably screwed this up as a seller. I think I probably screwed up the timing. But I ended up selling this as a package deal to a buyer. So overall, it was $74 for these two cards. Wow. This one, this green refractor out of 99 PSA 9. I bought this raw at the National for like $20. Came back a 9. Malik Tillman 2. So it sold 2 bids, so $26. But you know, I just an L. You know, what are you going to do? You can't, you know, you make plays. Sometimes your plays don't work out. And this is why we have this segment on the show, because we want to be transparent about this. But yeah, Malik I didn't get it done, and he didn't get it done for me. So
yeah,
what happened with this one, Kendall?
You know, I still believe in Malik, but it's going to be a longer term hold. Like, I think once we, you know, we're getting to do this for like about a year now, right? Like, we're together, we're doing this for about a year now. Like, at least chatting in some aspect, maybe not every week's show, but
Yep.
so I've noticed in that time, my time frame for investing is a little bit longer than your time frame investing. You are trying to turn cards quicker usually than I am. Usually I'm in the 1 to 5 year range of holding a card, and you're in the 6 month to 12 month of holding a card. The reason being is sometimes I'm digging deep enough that it requires a couple of years for these guys to get to their sell point. And I think that's with Malik. I think that's where we're at. I still have some Malik cards that, and if he's on the plane to Qatar in, a couple of weeks, then I think like it's going to be a different story. And he's made some incredible plays for Rangers. But Rangers got destroyed in in their Europe competition. And they just were murdered in the bottom of their group. And so the good thing in that was Tillman got to play against, like top talent. But and another good thing is he played well against that top talent. So I really do think he could sneak into this Qatar World Cup team. And then I do think that he's a part of that 2026 World Cup as well. But that's a long hold if he doesn't make it to Qatar. That's why I haven't really heavily invested in him yet. But I have a little bit. And there's a couple of cards that I'm looking forward to getting into once he becomes kind of more of a mainstay in this team. But this team is so young, and we have so many like B+ players that it's going to take, there's going to be some B+ players that don't get to play on this team because some of the development of those B+ players will go well and some of them won't, and so you're kind of waiting and seeing on Malik, but I do think that he ends up getting in there above some other people. But man, that's unfortunate timing. I feel like that could have been a better scenario another time. But this is another example of like, if this isn't your primary focus of investing and you can get a little bit money back of a bankroll, then you've got to be able to gauge that for yourself. Like, hey, do I want to spend, do I want to give up these 2 cards that could pop off later? Or do I want to take that $76 and put it into Tyrese Maxey right now? And so it's like, I mean, you could, I know that you love basketball more than you love soccer. And so it's just like, would I sell a downward trending, I don't know, like LaMelo Ball card to like get a cool Broman Chrome auto? You could probably convince me pretty clearly if I wasn't just like completely in bathwater about it, because like, that's just my passion, And so I could see that. So I'm not like, grilling you, but I would say it was probably unfortunate timing as well.
Yeah, I probably should have waited. And I do get impatient with holding certain cards. And this was one that I just kind of was okay with whatever I got for it. And basically that's what ended up, like, I think when you take that approach, like that's probably what's going to end up happening. And that's what did happen. And you're right. So basically, like, my win of the week is that I was able to acquire some Cade Cunningham, who I'm buying. I wouldn't say aggressively right now, but like he's someone that I'm buying more than other players. I'm trying to reverse diversify. I'm trying to focus. I'm trying to stay narrow. So I'm trying to get rid of all these flyers that I've taken over the last year, and I'm trying to just stay narrow into who I believe in the most, which is something that you've done quite a bit in your own right. And so I got 2 Cade Cunningham Prism Silvers over the weekend, each for basically $47 for one card, $55 for other cards. So including shipping, $60 and $52. And I don't think they'll gem. They might. Like, it's impossible to tell from eBay photos, especially from the size that I'm sharing on my screen right now. But like, there's a chance that they could gem if I get like a nice lenient PSA grader based on these images. And so even if they 9, this one looks a little off center top to bottom, unfortunately. But even if they 9, I did think I got them at a good price, and there's probably some upside in them in a bulk submission. So I'm excited about basketball. I'm excited about Cade Cunningham. I'm excited about Giannis. I'm excited. I think a win overall is Giannis as well. He's about to move up to my number 1 overall, back to number 1 overall in the sports card investment report, I think. And this Giannis prism, physically signed by him after it was ripped out of the pack, PSA DNA certified auto 10, but a PSA 7 on the card, I think is a card that I'm looking forward to holding for a little while, just because I do think Giannis is going to continue to be on the rise. And then I just had a couple other wins that aren't as personal to me. They're more to just kind of some content that I've laid out on the show and on the website. But Darius Garland came back last night and had a big game. He's a guy that I've been big on, and I still am big on all of you investing in. And Zion, Zion, we've talked about like selling Zion in November. I've said that many times, and he's continuing to play well. So I think the whole Zion prediction that you and I laid out there over the summer is continuing to play out exactly how we said it would. And I know I articulated that in the show a couple times, so that's a win. And then just another, I will throw out, before we get into your win, I will throw out like another personal win, which has nothing to do with cards. Actually, I shouldn't say it has nothing to do with cards. It actually has quite a bit to do with cards, because I am 9-0 now in the Card Content Creator Bowl. Just absolutely demolished Ziggy by over 100 points, and I still have 2 players left to go tonight, I believe, on Monday Night Football. 9-0, Kendall. This is the first time I've been playing fantasy football since 2003 in multiple leagues every year. I don't think I've ever been undefeated this late in a season. I am crushing all of you. I don't intend to lose, so continue to bring it. And nooffseason.com hopefully will continue to just handle the piece. I've still got Devin Duvernay and Isaiah Likely to play. I mean, this is just a rout here. Where is everyone else in this league? Am I the only one setting my lineup? Is anyone else trying? This is a W. This is a W of the week.
Yeah, so that league for me was an absolute disaster for the first couple of weeks, because Joe Burrow was playing horrible, and I was just like, okay, I went really hard on the cat stack with him and Higgins, and there's just nothing going on, and so anyway, I ended up going like 0-4 to start. I've gotten 4 wins now, so I'm right in the middle of the pack, 4-4.
Nice job, Lefty.
But my running back core is Cook. Whoa, sorry, Siri. My running back core of Cook, Swift, and Michael Gallup is, man, that's pretty fun, no matter what league you're in. So I also had absolutely no one, not one person on my bench scored 1 point. Everybody just 0, 0, 0, 0, 0, 0, 0. So at least I didn't get those guys in the game, but I did have 2 people in my actual games that did not score points either. And so somehow I'm winning. I don't think I'll win, because the guy, I think he has Lamar Jackson. Oh no, he has Andy Dalton going tonight. So maybe Andy just throws a goose egg and I end up winning. And I'll move to a winning record. But it's a fun league, I'll tell you that.
It's a fun league. It's a fun league. People are paying attention. I'm just messing with you because I'm dominating. So
I'm paying attention enough to know that my team is cheeks, and I'm just happy to be middle of the pack.
4 wins in a row. That's great. I'm proud of you. Way to
Thanks,
go,
bud.
All right, man. What's your win of the week?
Well, this is World Cup month. And we talked about that on the Soccer Card Show last week, but like on the main stage, my win is this is World Cup month. The United States will play Wales the week of Thanksgiving. Honestly, I don't know whose idea it was to go to a Winter World Cup, but I'm all in on it. Like, sure, we won't get the Shakira, dancing in the summertime feels, but dude, soccer in the holiday season with like big time implications, I'm all in. I mean, like Boxing Day itself is like something that I'm kind of in on. You know, like I love that feel of like the day after Thanksgiving or the day after Christmas. You're just like, what am I gonna watch? Got to be Premier League all day long. You know, but like at the same time, like the season of the holiday season with the World Cup together, man, what a cool thing. I don't know if they're like, this is just because it's hot as crap out there in the summertime, but I'm all in on it. So I'm all in on the World Cup. That's a win for it is finally World Cup month. But I think even more than that is a guy that I've been talking about forever, ever. Amen. Paxten Aaronson got a buyout to Frankfurt in Germany, not a loan back deal back to the MLS. He's fully going over to Frankfurt in the Bundesliga. They're playing incredible. I think right now they're 4th in the Bundesliga. So it's a team that he's going to get to in January that's already competing at the highest level. Like, I'm so stoked for Aaronson to go over there. It's a $4 million deal plus incentives, which is, I honestly think that's cheap. Like, I was just sitting here thinking, like, FC Cincinnati couldn't afford $4 million for Paxten Aaronson. Like, which I know he wouldn't have transferred to FC Cincinnati. He was trying to go to Europe. I get it. I'm just saying, if that was obtainable, somebody else should have definitely tried to do that. This is a wonder kid in the making. And then my other one is that as soon as that deal dropped, Cade Cowell of the San Jose Earthquakes, who's also on that U20 United States men's national team, gets a bid from Mönchengladbach that also is going to potentially go to the Bundesliga. I know the San Jose Earthquakes are asking quite a bit of money for him because he's like off the charts athletically. Like, Aaronson is probably the better player, but Cade is way more athletic than him. So, man, it's super cool time to be a United States team. Like, I know that these guys I know these guys aren't going to the World Cup this year, but these guys will be on the consideration of the roster in 26. Them, Diego Luna, all these guys that people definitely haven't necessarily heard of yet. But that U20 team for the United States men's national team has some very, very, very investable players in it.
Love that. Way to bring the soccer U.S. men's national team talk strong, because you've been all over them. You're right. We've been doing this for about a year together, and Paxten Aaronson might have been the first name out of your mouth when we first did a show together. So props to you, man.
Could have been
big time win there. You mentioned Shakira, which made me realize, I don't know if I ever said this on the show, but my son Max met Shakira. This is Max and Shakira.
That's awesome.
Shakira's
Go on, Max.
son plays. I know, right? He looks older than her in that picture.
Yeah, that's true.
And he plays in a baseball league where Shakira's son is younger than him, but plays in the same like baseball tournament structure. And so Max went to go see the younger kids play in his club. They were playing against Shakira's son's club, and she was there for like the whole weekend here in Valencia. So,
hey man, that is honestly some big stones for Max, because I would not have done that. I just would have stared. So I think, like, for them they're living in like the Barcelona area, right? Like, because PK plays for Barcelona.
I think so. I think they're divorced, but
what?
Could be wrong.
Crushing my heart.
Or maybe they're just not married. I don't know. I'm not an expert on celebrity relationships.
Yeah.
That could be wrong.
I think we would definitely have to be more in tune with that to do our celebrity card rankings today. Yeah. And that's not what we're talking about.
We're not doing the culture celebrity cards today. But yeah, so anyway, cool. Good stuff. All right, well, I'm going to go over to my buy of the week and talk about market movers and a guy that I think is a buy, and I'm interested to see what you think of this. But I'm thinking that, okay, it's November 7th today. It's actually my sister's birthday. Happy birthday, Emma. I know you're not.
Go on, Emma.
We're watching, but
let's
Emma,
go.
Happy birthday. She's 26. Anyway,
age.
Good
She's
work.
She's got to get her own insurance now.
Yep, she does. I think she has it. She's
Good for her.
smart. She
Good
knows
for
what's
her.
up.
She didn't wait till the end.
Mom and dad, get her off the insurance. It's November 7th, and in addition to it being my sister's birthday, the World Series is complete. Baseball cards are not really top of mind right now. We've spoken just about every show about whatever is not top of mind should be what you are thinking about buying. I have not mentioned buying a baseball card in a long time. I think it's time. I mentioned F1 over the last few shows. Before that, I mentioned basketball. Way before that, I mentioned football. I think it's time to look at a super liquid, popular veteran who could be hitting the free agent market sometime soon. If I'm correct, I might, even if he's not, I still have time to potentially look at buying Shohei Ohtani cards because he just hasn't gotten that much attention in a while. And if you go to marketmoversapp.com and you use the promo code NOOFFSEASON, you get your first month for only $1. And you can find some Shohei Ohtani cards in PSA 10 with a pretty low pop that have gone down by more than 50%. Now, these are not his Bowman expensive high ceiling cards, but these are his, for example, 2018 Topps opening day base, PSA 10, pop 558, down 54%. This is for people that might not want to spend a whole lot of money on cards, but you can get this card for less than $90. You can potentially sell it very easily for upwards of $120, $150, $200 during the baseball season. You've got his 20, just simple cards, his 2018 Topps update base rookie. Now that's a huge pop count. That's almost 8,000 in PSA 10. But I think if you go through Shohei Ohtani 2018, like here's his pink refractor in PSA 10, his 2018 Topps Chrome update pink refractor, pop 388. This is a card you can get for last sale, $228 on Halloween. This is a card that's like close to a $500 card. This is down $215 right now. I think Shohei is a guy that is always going to have an extremely liquid market with high upside, even on his lower end cards. And right now would just be a time to make a very simple base PSA 10 2018 Topps play on Shohei Ohtani. So this is not out of this world, crazy, risky, or expensive. But this is an example of where I think you can go to make money on a top guy. So Shohei Ohtani, for those reasons, is my buy of the week. Kendall, what do you think?
Yeah, I think that's a great call. Shohei is not a free agent this offseason, but could get moved in there is a narrative out there that the Angels are trying to potentially move quite a bit. I don't know if that's true or not. I actually would lean towards there's no way in hell that Shohei is getting moved. If you have a once in a generation player, and you have two of them, there's, some people are like, you've got to move one of them to improve the rest of the health of your franchise. In my opinion, I know that LA, I've given them a lot of heat, but there's no way in hell that I have two generational players and I'm going to move one of them for some prospects that potentially could pop off. No, jersey sales are huge. Media rights are huge. You've got Ohtani, all of your games are broadcasted in Japan right now, so it's just there is no way that I think Shohei moves from LA, nor do I think Trout moves from LA. I think they are going to have somebody come in and buy their franchise this offseason, and that those two people are excited for those two players to be there, and they're probably going to heavily invest in the scouting department and just hope that they can get some of those best years of their careers into playoff formation. So I think that's a great buy. Shohei's not going anywhere. Definitely once in a generational player. Our like we've said, our generation's Babe Ruth, and I actually would say that's not even a great comparison. I think it's our generation's Shohei Ohtani. Babe Ruth, there was a lot of good stuff about him.
Right?
Yeah, I mean, but like he ran
He
like
wasn't a great human being necessarily.
right, and he freaking he ran like he had a barrel for a chest. You ever seen Shohei Ohtani run? The dude looks
Yeah.
like a deer. Like the guy is amazing.
Yeah.
So I mean, I'm not willing to go out there on a limb and say he's better than Babe Ruth because that just shows ignorance. I think I don't really want to compare like one of the greats in the game to another great in the game in a different era completely. But anyway, yeah, I think that's a good one.
Cool.
I would say generally, baseball is about to pop off, but there are a couple players that I don't think you need to buy right now, which is what I actually have as my sell. So I'll get to that in a second. But I think generally this is a good time to be buying baseball because Bowman Chrome doesn't launch until the end of this month, and definitely towards the end of November, the further you get away from the World Series, the more that it'll just become buy zone. So if nothing else, like Paul's declaration here is going to be like a month long, maybe 3 months or maybe 3 weeks, like a big buy session, and then Bowman Chrome will come out, prices will pop again, and then we need to slow back down until draft comes out. But my buys of the week are a little like kind of cheeky plays, kind of just like, hey, I could see these guys are playing well, and I could see what there's monikers that they could hit towards the end of their seasons. So, like for instance, in basketball, I'm watching Tyrese Maxey, and I know that that's just the beginning. I know I've mentioned him earlier, but I'm saying like I'm kind of interested in buying some Maxey cards. Like barring something catastrophic in terms of an injury, he's going to have an all-star season. He's got more run now with Joel Embiid dealing with quite an illness for the past week. And then James Harden out with a foot injury. Tyrese Maxey is full steam ahead. And so I don't think he's really stopping anytime soon. I think he's got the position to kind of make James Harden, quote unquote, kind of forgettable. Like you're like, okay, great. Like Tyrese Maxey. Oh, right. Then you have James Harden there, which happens at the latter end of every star's career. But it's just like, this could be the year where that happens. And I know that might be a spicy take for some people, but I love it. I think Tyrese Maxey is here to stay. Loved him at Kentucky. Now I'm even more excited to watch him in the NBA. I've got him in every fantasy team I have. Super stoked about him. Additionally, another guy in basketball that I think is a good buy right now because of the way that his season could play out is I think Shea is potentially a good buy right now. Now, this is a riskier one than Tyrese Maxey. The only way that I see that Shea's balling, he's destroying people right now, like absolutely destroying. And so you're like, oh, Kendall, am I not buying him at his peak? Performance-wise, yes, but I think there will be a time at the end of or in the middle to the end of this season where he is traded to another team as the Thunder try to tank for Wembanyama, and Shea is like, yo, I'm the best player in this team and I'm keeping us afloat. Can you please let me go play for somebody? And there are teams out there that would shell out some picks, that is music to Sam Presti's ears. Like if he could deal Shea, like he dealt Paul George for Shea and 5 picks. If he could deal Shea for like maybe 3 more, holy cow! Like what a trade that would be. And I think that like 3 picks is probably on the light end for Shea. So I think he could end up being in the media a lot towards the end of the season. I think he's I would be willing to bet he's an all-star this year. I think that he ends up getting moved to another team, which is a risky play, but I think that could play out well in terms of the media hype, which is what we've seen can spike card prices as well. And then my last my other one that I'm like a cheeky play is I think Kenneth Walker right now could be potentially winning Rookie of the Year as the running back for the Seahawks. He had some unfortunate injuries from other players really vault him into some success, and he's amazing. That Seahawks team is doing some cool stuff. And like one thing I know about card collecting is cult heroes pop off, man. And the Seahawks are doing it. They're just out there doing it. So I've named 2 sports that I'm not really proficient on, so feel free to grill me. But my last one here is I think that it's like you said, F1 is coming down to an end here. Ricardo is not picked up as a driver next season, but has a wild fan base all around the world. So I think you could potentially pick up Ricardo, maybe not right now, but over the next couple of months, and you could make some pretty good wins. Either when he gets back into F1 racing, if he decides to go to IndyCar racing, or even NASCAR. I think there's other plays for Ricardo, considering how much of a status he has. Like when you saw him walking around Austin with his Texas jersey on, and he's just like all cowboyed up and like smiling, like that dude's gonna be in F1 to some degree for a long, long time. I think you could see him being a part of like quote unquote, the paddock somehow, like maybe he comes in as a reporter or something. They're gonna use that media attention for something, whether he can drive or not. Okay, that's a question. Like he looked like when he got soft tires in Mexico and he was zooming past everybody. That was pretty freaking cool. But then he got a 10-second delay for wrecking I can't remember maybe it was like anyway, I can't remember who he wrecked at this point, but he got a 10-second delay, but he was zooming past everybody. As a McLaren fan, I was kind of excited about that because he ended up finishing ahead of Lando in Mexico. But okay, that's it.
Kendall, you're on fire right now. I could not agree with you more. This is why people need to consume our show's content, because you just brought it so strong in terms of all of your plays that you just laid out for your buys of the week. Tyrese Maxey is definitely better than James Harden. I mean, Harden's the number 3 player on that team. Maxey is a number 1. I mean, Embiid is obviously the MVP candidate there, but Maxey is the guy to own from a card standpoint, far and away. I think he is on the rise, but will continue to rise. Like he has the upside of like an Anthony Edwards and certainly of a LaMelo Ball. I talk a lot about Darius Garland. I think Tyrese Maxey's probably head and shoulders above Darius Garland's market size and interest from the hobby. So liquidity wise, I think finding Tyrese Maxey cards at card shows would be something that I would recommend. Like everybody always do. Like always go look for 2020 Prism variation, Donruss Optic, hollow variation, serial numbered, whatever you can find from 2020 Tyrese Maxey. Always going to be liquid. Always going to be good to try to grade those cards if you feel like they could gem at PSA. Love that call. Love that call. Your SGA call, Shea Gilgeous-Alexander. I'm disappointed that I didn't come up with this because this is brilliant. You're spot on with the trade. I think that could totally play out. I think there's a high probability that plays out, and there's not a lot of people talking about that from a card investment perspective. We don't talk enough as a sports card investment community about anticipating trades. I know there's people that do it. Like I know there's people that are really good at it, but I don't think us as content creators talk about that enough to say this is a play. And I think Shea is a guy that's like a top 5 guy that you could target and say, I think he's going to get traded. And so I'm going to go buy his card knowing that every time a name like him gets traded, their card value spikes for a few days. And so I'm going to be prepared to trade him before the NBA trade deadline in the event that he gets traded in that week. And so the only part where I think there's a little bit of a flaw in your SGA theory is the pick scenario, because OKC already has so many picks, and picks don't hold the same value in the NBA as they do in the NFL. And so while like you just had TJ Hawkinson traded for some picks to the Vikings from the Lions, you're not going to see SGA traded for picks, but I do think you could see him traded. And I do think picks can be involved in the trade because there's their assets. But I think that OKC would have to get something back that would make sense for them to build around with Chet and with whoever that pick ends up being, and with Giddey. But I think you can see like a different type of scorer. Shea is like a ball dominant player. I think that OKC could get back a player that's not as ball dominant, but that's a scorer. And I think it would have to be like of the same age range, because obviously that's what they're building for, or younger. But I like the idea of Shea getting traded. I could see everything else falling in. Danny Ricciardo was your next guy. That's a cool play, man. I mean, I think it's not a play that I would make, because if I'm gonna buy F1, it's gonna be Russell, or it's gonna be Oscar, maybe Leclerc, probably not Lando. I know. I think Lando is a buy, but personally I wouldn't buy him. But I could see for F1 heads, I could see Ricardo being a great play. So I like that a lot. Good stuff. All right, my sell of the week. Who to sell now? It's a simple one. It's Lauri Markkanen. I don't know what people are doing buying Lauri Markkanen cards right now. I love the hobby and I love sports card investing. You have to have people that buy Lauri Markkanen for people like you and I to make money on some of the plays that we're making. So I love that there are people buying Lauri Markkanen. I don't want our audience to be those people that are buying Lauri Markkanen. This is a player for the Utah Jazz that has absolutely zero hype appeal of any kind. He's on fire right now, and the Jazz are like 8-1. Good for them. It's November. Sell Lauri Markkanen. He's like the number 3, number 9 card being sold on Sports Card Investor right now. He's up 113% over 7 days, 366% over 30 days of his 2017 optic base. Sell him. You're never going to see another spike out of Lauri Markkanen. Okay, that's all I need to talk about. Who are you selling, Kendall?
These are going to sound tough, but I think when we lock into an investor's mentality, you have to think counterculturally. And this is something that I've talked to a couple of people this week. They send me like these cool looking Jeremy Peña autos, and they're like, man, should I buy this? And I'm like, no. You should not buy Jeremy Peña right now. Like this is absolute spike, like you're at the, what's that like huge building in Seattle? The Needle or whatever.
Space Needle?
Like, yeah, you are on the top of the Space Needle right now with Jeremy Peña's market, because Peña is destroying. He just won the World Series MVP. Like, such a good player. That is not what I'm saying. What I'm saying is the card price is only going to come down from here. And so if you have cards from Peña or J-Rod, because J-Rod is probably going to win the regular season rookie of the year this week, I would imagine. I would say you move those cards when you can, with the intent to position yourself again in a few months. Like, don't go spend that money on like a new car, or it's a risky play, but don't go spend it on a Tyrese Maxey. If you want to discipline yourself about having these guys long term, take your PSA 10 Colorado of Jeremy Peña, sell it as it goes down, not in spring training, because that's what's going to ramp back up, but in 2 to 3 months, buy back into Jeremy Peña, and you might save yourself $100 to $200. J-Rod could be the same way. These are also two guys, though, that I wouldn't recommend in all scenarios selling. There could be scenarios where you want to hold these guys long term. If you are the kind of investor that wants to invest in a player that's going to be good over the next 10 to 15 years ish, I think these are guys that are really good, really good scenarios for that kind of a take. But if you are looking at 3 to 6 months, you don't care who they are, you just want a plus, then I think this is a good time to plus move, and then move it to either another player, or in a couple of months buy back into the same player, and then you could potentially move it again in spring training, and then in May buy back in. Like, there are people in this hobby that make bukus of money flipping one player.
Yep, and I love that.
They tape hype cycles flipping one player. This is a bona fide 150 million% sell or a flip opportunity for Jeremy Peña, because and honestly, we might be on the backslide of that. So like you might have already missed a good section of window unless you're willing to do like a 1 to 3 day auction or something like that. So his cards absolutely popped off during the Game 6 of the World Series. And to that degree, I am a little excited to bookend what I said at the start of the show by saying I think, like, of course, I didn't like the World Series win for the Houston Astros, but I think this is a first positive sign I've seen of a card life out of a Houston Astros player in a long, long time. And so I'm thinking maybe Astros potentially are getting to a place where you can invest in those players again. When you look at Alvarez, when you look at Tucker, when you look at Bregman and then Altuve, some of those guys always take that 2017 Astros hit, even though some of them didn't really play that much on that team. That was 6 years ago. I think we're maybe with this World Series kind of getting onto the other side of it, but it is what it is.
Yeah, and like another strong point by you with the flipping of one player, and great example of is Jeremy Peña, where just even this season, he hit a home run, I think, in his first game, or maybe his first at bat, and you could have sold him there, which I think maybe you might have, and made a lot of money off of that.
I sold him the first day of the season, and it was 20. So I sold 2 base autos the first day of the season when he hit his first home run. And those 2 cards I sold for $20 less than Game 6, what they were going for.
Ooh, see, that's great information, everybody. I'm glad I brought that up. Glad Kendall was able to share that, because you sometimes think that it's going to take this championship spike, and it's not the case, especially in baseball. There's enough hype around just the beginning of a baseball season and the call up of a player. You got to sell them then, and then you can buy back in later, especially with a guy like Peña or J-Rod, like Kendall said. So I think those are important points. Good stuff. Well, before we wrap up the show today, and before I give Kendall his weekly chance to talk about FC Cincinnati, he already talked about FC Cincinnati. Before I do that, I do want to talk real quick about a card show coming up in April. The Minnesota Card Show is April 20th through April 23rd at the Hyatt Regency, Minneapolis. I do want to promote this show because Isaac Hoffman reached out to me. He seems like a great guy, and I want to give him in his show the first. I think this is one of the first ever card shows in Minnesota to be this large. 300 more than 300 dealer tables. Check out cardshowmn.com. MN is in Minnesota, obviously. Cardshowmn.com, and you can use the promo code No Off Season to get tickets. You can get 10% off whatever tickets you buy. Whatever you buy on cardshowmn.com, you can use the promo code No Off Season. I don't think I get anything for that, so I'm just letting you guys know as a courtesy. Not like I get a kickback or anything, but if you want to get me a kickback, go to marketmoversapp.com. Use the promo code No Off Season. I do get something for that. So just being transparent. But I wanted to let you guys know about this card show. If anyone else out there in the audience wants to email me at paul@nooffseason.com about what you have going on in the hobby, happy to take a look at it. Happy to mention it on the show. We're going to have some guests coming up the next few weeks. Some people that I met at the London Card Show that I want to come on to talk to Kendall and I about what they have going on. So there'll be some more soccer content from the UK perspective over the next few strategy shows. From there, maybe we'll see if those guys are a fit to join Kendall and I on the soccer card strategy show rather than the flagship show. But we're going to have them on here first. That's all I've got for today, Kendall. Great work. What else do you have to add before you take us to the rock music?
I'm not going to talk about FC Cincinnati this week, but I will talk about the MLS at large. There is an expansion draft this week. It's supposed to be one of the final few teams that are going to get into Major League Soccer. The league is expanding quite a bit. As you guys know, I'm a big proponent of Major League Soccer. St. Louis already sold 60,000 season tickets. That is insane. 60,000 pre-sold season tickets. That's crazy.
Ridiculous.
That's 3 times bigger than FC Cincinnati Stadium. So anyway, it's I'm looking forward to seeing what that plays out like. I think they're building their team in a horrific way, in my opinion, but regardless, it's going to be another cool city with an expansion draft and a lot of cool stuff this offseason. Congrats to LAFC. Gareth Bale with the header to win it or to send it into PKs. Like, you could say rigged. You could.
Got to get our MLS talk in there. I mean, I love it. You know, we need more MLS talk everywhere in the world, I think. Expansion draft, that means FC Cincinnati will probably be losing a player potentially. So sorry for that in advance, Kendall. Maybe that'll be your L of the week next week. We'll see.
That's all right. In Chris Albright, I trust. You know what? Cue the rock music, Paul.
There we go. Love it. Everybody, thanks so much for watching and listening to the Sports Card Strategy Show. As Kendall said, here's the rock music.